The alarm started screaming at 3 in the morning. Captain Lee Hyun rolled out of his bed and grabbed his uniform. He had been sleeping in the officers' quarters on Luna Station, the big military base built inside Earth's moon. The alarm meant only one thing. Someone was sending a message from deep space. Hyun ran through the metal halls of the station. His boots made loud sounds on the floor. Other soldiers were running too. Everyone looked worried. They had not heard this alarm in 2 years. The communications room was full of people when Hyun got there. Big screens showed numbers and strange symbols. Park Mina sat at the main desk. She was the best person on the station for understanding alien messages. Her fingers moved fast over the controls. "What do we have?" Hyun asked. Mina looked up. Her face was pale. "It's a distress call, Captain, from the Gentle Collective." Hyun felt surprised. The Gentle Collective was a group of alien races that lived far away from Earth. They had visited Earth once, many years ago. They had looked at humans and called them violent primitives. They said Earth was a death world because it was too dangerous. Then they left and never talked to humans again. "Are you sure it's from them?" Hyun asked. "Yes, sir. I checked 3 times. The signal is coming from their space." Mina turned back to her screen. "Captain, this message, it's bad, really bad." She pressed a button. The alien voice filled the room. It sounded scared and desperate. The words came through the translation computer. "This is Veloth of the Crystal. Gardens speaking for the Gentle Collective. We need help. We are dying. Our worlds are being destroyed. The Void Swarm has come. They eat everything. They turn our planets into nothing. 17 of our worlds are gone. 17 civilizations are dead. We have no weapons that can stop them. Please, anyone who gets this message, help us. We are sorry for everything we said before. We were wrong. Help us." The room went quiet. Everyone stared at the screens. Hyun felt cold inside his chest. "How long ago was this sent?" he asked. 2 days, Mina said. "The signal took that long to reach us." "What's the Void Swarm?" "I don't know. The computer doesn't have any information about them." Hyun thought hard. The Gentle Collective had called humans primitives. They said Earth was too violent and dangerous. Now they were asking for help. Something very bad was happening out there. "Send a message to Admiral Kim on Earth," Hyun said. "Tell him we need an emergency meeting right now." While Mina worked on the message, Hyun looked at the star maps. The Gentle Collective lived in a group of star systems about 50 light years from Earth. That was far, but human ships could get there in a few weeks. The emergency meeting happened 6 hours later. Admiral Kim Tae-ho appeared on the big screen. He was an old man with gray hair and sharp eyes. Behind him, Hyun could see other important people from Earth's military. "I got your report," the Admiral said. "Tell me everything." Hyun explained about the message. He played the recording again. When it finished, Admiral Kim was quiet for a long time. "Sir?" Hyun said. "I'm thinking," Kim said. "The Gentle Collective refused to trade with us. They said we were too violent. They wouldn't even give us star maps of their territory. Now they want our help." "Yes, sir." "What do you think we should do?" Hyun had been thinking about this question for hours. "I think we have to help them, sir." "Why?" "Because if something is strong enough to destroy 17 alien civilizations, it might come for us next." Admiral Kim nodded slowly. "That's what I was thinking too." He looked at someone off screen. "Dr. Choi, what do you know about this Void Swarm?" A woman appeared on the screen. She was Engineer Choi Ji-won, one of Earth's best scientists. She looked worried. "Nothing good, Admiral," she said. "I've been studying the message for 3 hours. The aliens describe the Void Swarm as machines that eat entire planets. They take everything, rocks, metal, air, water, and turn it into more machines. How is that possible? Self-replicating technology. The machines make copies of themselves, using the materials they find. It's like a virus but made of metal and computers instead of biology. How many of these machines are there? If they've destroyed 17 worlds in a few months, there must be millions of them, maybe billions." Everyone in the room looked scared. Hyun felt his stomach drop. Where are they going next? Admiral Kim asked. Dr. Choi checked her computer. If they're moving in a straight line from the collective space, they're heading toward Earth. The silence was terrible. Hyun could hear his own heart beating. How long do we have? The Admiral asked. At their current speed, maybe 6 months, maybe less. Admiral Kim looked at all the people on his side of the screen. They talked quietly for a few minutes. Then he looked back at Hyun. Captain, I'm giving you a new mission. Take the Indomitable and assemble a battle group. We're going to help the Gentle Collective. The Indomitable was Earth's newest and biggest warship. It was as long as 3 city blocks and carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Hyun had never commanded anything that powerful. Sir, are you sure? The aliens said their weapons. Can't stop these machines. Yes, but the aliens have never seen human weapons. They've never seen how humans fight. Admiral Kim smiled, but it was not a happy smile. They called us violent primitives. Maybe it's time to show them what violent primitives can do. What if we can't stop them either? Then at least we'll go down fighting. And maybe we'll learn something that will help Earth when they come for us. Hyun understood. This was not just about saving the aliens. This was about protecting humanity's future. I'll need good people, Hyun said. Take anyone you want. Take our best ships and our best weapons. Whatever you need. How soon do we leave? As fast as possible. Every day we wait, more alien worlds die, and that thing gets closer to Earth. The meeting ended. Hyun sat alone in the communications room, looking at the stars through the window. Somewhere out there, an enemy was destroying entire civilizations. Soon, he would have to take human ships and human soldiers to fight something that had already killed billions of beings. He thought about what the alien had said. We were wrong. The Gentle Collective had judged humans without really knowing them. They thought violence and danger made humans weak. They were about to learn the truth. Humans came from a world that tried to kill them every day. They had learned to fight against impossible odds. They never gave up, even when they should. Maybe being violent primitives was exactly what the galaxy needed right now. Hyun stood up and walked toward the door. He had a war to prepare for. Captain Lee Hyun stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and watched his crew work. The massive ship floated in space near Mars, where Earth's biggest military shipyard built the most dangerous weapons in human space. Through the windows, he could see other ships joining his battle group. Captain, said Nam Soo-jin, walking up to him. She was his new first officer. Soo-jin was a tough woman who had led Marines in 3 different wars. Her soldiers would follow her anywhere, even into hell. The Marine battalions are loaded and ready. How many troops do we have? 2,000 Marines, sir, all volunteers. They know this mission might be one way. Hyun nodded. He had asked for volunteers only. He would not force anyone to fight aliens in deep space. But when word got out about the mission, too many people wanted to go. He'd had to turn away thousands of soldiers. What about weapons? He asked. Soo-jin smiled. It was not a nice smile. Yoon Jae-sung has been working on that. You should see what he's loaded on this ship. Yoon was the weapons specialist. He was a thin man who loved explosives, more than most people loved their families. If Yoon was excited about something, it was probably very dangerous. They found Yoon in the weapons bay, standing next to a missile that was as big as a small building. He looked happy, like a child with a new toy. Captain, he said when he saw them. Look at this beauty, it's a planet cracker. One of these can break a moon in half. Is that legal? Hyun asked. Probably not, but we're going to fight machines that eat worlds. I don't think they care about our laws. Yoon led them through the weapons bay. He showed them plasma cannons that could melt through solid rock. He showed them kinetic weapons that fired metal bars at incredible speed. He showed them something called nuclear torpedoes that made Hyun's hair stand up. The aliens have never seen weapons like these, Yoon said. Their enemies use energy weapons, lasers and particle beams. We use good old-fashioned explosives and kinetic force. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. What about the other ships? Hyun asked. The carriers, Relentless and Retribution, are loading fighters right now. Song Mina is training the pilots. She's the best we have. Hyun knew Mina. She was a fighter pilot who had shot down more enemy ships than anyone else in the fleet. She was also completely crazy, which made her perfect for this mission. They found Mina in the fighter bay talking to her pilots. She was a small woman, but when she talked, everyone listened. Remember, she was saying, these alien machines adapt to energy weapons. So we're going back to basics. Missiles with chemical explosives, kinetic rounds. If that doesn't work, we ram them. One of the young pilots raised his hand. Ma'am, what if they're too big to ram? Then we ram them harder, Mina said. The pilots laughed, but Hyun could see they were nervous. After the briefing, Mina walked over to Hyun. Captain, I've been thinking about these void swarm machines. If they adapt to our weapons, we need to keep changing our tactics. What do you mean? I mean, we fight like humans, not like aliens. We're unpredictable. We do things that don't make sense. That's our advantage. Hyun was starting to understand. The alien civilizations that had been destroyed probably fought in organized, logical ways. They used the same tactics over and over, but humans were different. Humans were chaos. The next person he needed to see was Kang Do-hyun, who commanded the stealth ships. Do-hyun was a quiet man who could make ships invisible to enemy sensors. His frigates could sneak up on anything. They found Do-hyun working on a computer in the electronics lab. He looked up when they came in. Captain, I've been studying the alien distress call. The machines detect ships using quantum sensors. Very advanced. But I think I can fool them. How? Human stealth technology works differently than alien tech. We use materials that absorb sensor waves instead of deflecting them. The machines probably don't know how to counter that. Can you get close to them without being seen? Close enough to touch them if needed. The last person Hyun needed to talk to was Dr. Lim Hye-jin. She was a scientist who studied alien life. The military had asked her to figure out what made humans different from other species. Dr. Lim met them in the science lab. She had papers and computer screens everywhere. She looked like she had not slept in days. Captain, I've been researching every alien species we know about. I think I understand why they can't stop these machines. And tell me, every other species in the galaxy evolved on what we call garden worlds. Planets with perfect weather, no dangerous animals, plenty of food. They never had to fight for survival. But Earth is different. Earth tried to kill us every day for millions of years. Ice ages, volcanoes, earthquakes, deadly animals, diseases, storms. We survived because we learned to adapt and fight back. Dr. Lim showed them pictures on her computer. Images of other alien worlds that looked like parks, then images of Earth, storms, deserts, jungles full of creatures with sharp teeth. Other species solve problems by thinking logically. We solve problems by trying crazy things until something works. Other species give up when things look hopeless. We get angry and fight harder. So you think we can beat these machines? I think we're the only species that has a chance. The machines are logical. They adapt to logical tactics. But how do you adapt to chaos? Just then, an alarm sounded. A new ship was arriving. Through the window, Hyun could see it. A sleek alien vessel with strange curves and glowing lights. The Gentle Collective sent a representative, Soo-jin said, reading from her tablet. They want to help plan the mission. 20 minutes later, Hyun stood in the docking bay watching the alien ship land. The door opened and a creature walked out that looked like a tall, thin human made of crystal. It moved gracefully, like it was floating. I am Veloth of the Crystal Gardens, the alien said. Its voice sounded like music. I thank you for answering our call for help. Hyun noticed that Veloth looked around the docking bay with wide eyes. The alien seemed shocked by what it saw. Human soldiers with scars and hard faces, weapons that looked brutal and simple, ships that seemed designed for war instead of exploration. We need to show you our military preparations, Hyun said. As they walked through the ship, Veloth became more and more upset. When Yoon showed the alien the nuclear weapons, Veloth stepped back in horror. These weapons, they could destroy entire cities, the alien said. Yes, Yoon said proudly. That's the point. When they visited the Marine training area, Veloth watched human soldiers practicing hand-to-hand combat. The training looked violent and brutal. 2 Marines were fighting with knives, trying to cut each other. Do they enjoy causing pain? Veloth asked. They're training to stay alive, Sujin explained. In close combat, you kill or you die. There's no middle ground. When they met the fighter pilots, Veloth listened to Minna explain her tactics. The alien became very quiet when Minna talked about ramming enemy ships. You would sacrifice your life to destroy one enemy? Veloth asked. If it saves my friends, yes, Minna said simply. Finally, they reached the bridge. Veloth looked around at all the weapons controls and tactical displays. Navigator Bei Sung-ho was working at his station, planning the route to alien space. How long will the journey take? Veloth asked. 3 weeks, Bei said without looking up, and then we kill everything that moves in your space until the threat is gone, Bei said calmly. Veloth turned to look at Hyun. The alien's crystal face showed fear and confusion. Captain, I do not understand your people. Your weapons are designed to cause maximum destruction. Your soldiers train to kill efficiently. Your pilots are willing to die for strangers. This is not how civilized beings behave. Hyun had been thinking about this conversation all day. Now he knew what to say. You're right, he said. We're not civilized like you. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day. We learned to be violent because violence was the only way to survive. You called us primitives. And maybe we are. Then why are you helping us? Because that's what primitives do. We protect our tribe. And right now you're part of our tribe. Veloth was quiet for a long moment. What if you cannot defeat the Void Swarm? What if our combined forces are not enough? Hyun looked out the window at the growing fleet of human warships. Each one carried weapons that could level cities. Each one carried soldiers who had volunteered to die fighting an unknown enemy to protect people they had never met. Then we'll make them pay such a high price for victory that they'll think twice before attacking Earth, he said. We're not going to fight your war, Veloth. We're going to end it. 3 weeks later, the human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of gentle collective space. Captain Lee Hyun stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and stared at what was left of Harmony Prime. The planet had been beautiful, once. Veloth had shown them pictures during the journey. Blue oceans, green continents, crystal cities that caught the light like diamonds. Now it looked like a piece of fruit that had been eaten by insects. Huge chunks of the planet were simply gone. Where mountains had stood, there were deep holes that went down to the planet's core. The 3 moons that had orbited Harmony Prime were completely missing. In their place floated millions of dark objects, each one the size of a building. My God, whispered Park Mina from her communication station. They're strip mining the entire planet. Through the ship's telescopes, they could see the Void Swarm at work. The machines looked like giant metal spiders, but each one was as big as a city. They had long arms that ended in tools for cutting, grinding, and melting. Some machines broke apart mountains. Others flew through space, carrying loads of raw materials to massive factory ships. How many are there? Hyun asked. Sensors show at least 10,000 machines around the planet, reported Officer Kim Dal, who ran the ship's detection systems. And sir, they're not all the same. Some are miners, some are builders, some look like weapons. They're adapting, said Dr. Lim from her science station. They build different types of machines for different jobs. Veloth stood beside Hyun, looking at the destruction of their world. The alien's crystal body had turned dark like a shadow. 17 billion people lived on Harmony Prime, Veloth said quietly. My sister had a garden there. She grew flowers that sang in the morning light. Hyun put his hand on the alien's shoulder. We'll make them pay for this. Captain, called Yoon Jae-sung from the weapons station. We're in range. My guns are ready. Wait, Hyun said. We need to learn how they fight before we commit to a full battle. He turned to Fighter Commander Song Min-ah, who was standing nearby. Min-ah, take a small squadron and probe their defenses. I want to see how they react to human weapons. Yes, sir. Min-ah grinned. It'll be my pleasure. 20 minutes later, Minna led 12 fighter craft toward the swarm of machines. Her voice came over the radio as she got closer. Target acquired, it's a big one. Looks like a mobile factory. I'm starting my attack run. On the main screen, they watched Minna's fighters dive toward one of the larger machines. It was shaped like a huge cylinder with rotating sections. As the human ships got close, the machine suddenly sprouted weapon ports along its sides. It's shooting at us, Minna called. Energy weapons, some kind of particle beam. Very accurate. The machine's weapons fired streams of blue light. Minna's fighters scattered, dodging the beams. One human ship got hit and exploded in a ball of fire. Their targeting is perfect, Minna reported. But they're only using energy weapons. I'm switching to kinetic missiles. The human fighters fired solid metal projectiles instead of energy beams. The missiles hit the alien machine and exploded, tearing holes in its hull. The machine seemed surprised. It kept firing energy weapons at spots where the fighters had been, not where they were now. It's like it can't track our missiles, Minna said. Only our ships. Keep hitting it, Hyun ordered. The fighters made several attack runs. Each time they damaged the machine more, but then something changed. The machine stopped firing energy weapons and started shooting physical projectiles instead. Damn, Minna said. It's adapting. It figured out our missiles. The machine's new weapons were very effective. Within minutes, Minna had lost 4 more fighters. She ordered her remaining ships to retreat. Captain, we've got a problem, she reported. That thing learned to counter our weapons in less than 10 minutes. Back on the bridge, Dr. Lim was studying the sensor data. This is fascinating and terrifying, she said. The machine recorded everything about our attack. It analyzed our weapons and developed countermeasures in real time. Can it adapt to everything? Hyun asked. I don't know. But if it can, we need to overwhelm it before it has time to learn. Hyun made a decision. All ships prepare for close assault. We're going to board one of those machines. Sir? First Officer Nam Soo-jin looked surprised. Board it? If they can adapt to our weapons, maybe they can't adapt to our soldiers. Soo-jin smiled slowly. I like it. My Marines are getting bored just sitting here. The plan was simple and crazy. The stealth ships, commanded by Kang Do-hyun, would sneak close to a damaged machine. Then Marine assault teams would blast holes in its hull and fight their way inside. While the Marines caused chaos, the main fleet would attack with everything they had. Do-hyun's invisible ships crept toward the machine that Minna had damaged. The alien sensors couldn't detect them. When they were close enough, the stealth ships fired special torpedoes that cut through the machine's armor like paper. Go, 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 Soo-jin shouted into her radio. Assault pods shot out of the human ships and punched through the holes in the machine's hull. Each pod carried 20 Marines with weapons, explosives, and enough anger to level a city. Marine Colonel Oh Sang-wook led the first team inside. His voice came over the radio as he and his soldiers fought through the machine's corridors. This place is weird, he reported. Everything is made of some kind of living metal. The walls keep trying to heal themselves. What kind of resistance are you facing? Soo-jin asked. Not much. A few small robots, but they're not built for close combat. They keep trying to scan us with energy beams. Doesn't seem to work. Inside the machine, Sergeant Ryu Jun-ho and his team found the main computer core. It was a massive room filled with strange technology that pulsed with blue light. Colonel, we found their brain, Ryu reported. What should we do with it? Boilang, it up, Oh said simply. Ryu's team placed explosive charges around the computer core, but before they could detonate them, the room filled with small flying robots. The robots tried to stop the humans, but they were designed to work with tools, not fight soldiers. They're trying to repair the damage we caused, Ryu said as he smashed robots with his rifle, but they don't know how to fight us. That's because they've never met anything like us, Oh replied. Detonate the charges. The explosions tore through the machine's core. On the main screen of the Indomitable, they watched the huge alien factory ship shudder and stop moving. Its lights went out. It began to drift in space like a dead whale. We did it, Soo-jin said with satisfaction. We killed our first void machine. But their celebration was short. Officer Kim Dal looked up from his sensors with a worried expression. Captain, the other machines are changing. They're sending data to each other. They're learning from what just happened. On the screen, they could see the void swarm moving differently. The machines that had been mining the planet were forming into groups. New weapons were growing from their hulls. They were preparing for war. They know we're here now, Hyun said, and they know how we fight. Sir, called Navigator Bae Sung-ho, I'm picking up movement from the outer system. More machines are coming, a lot more. The screen showed hundreds of new contacts approaching from deep space. Each one was huge, bigger than the machine they had just destroyed. How long until they get here? Hyun asked. 6 hours. Hyun looked around the bridge at his officers. They had proven that humans could kill void machines, but they had also shown the enemy exactly how dangerous humans could be. Signal the fleet, he said. We're going to hit them with everything we have before their reinforcements arrive. Sir, Veloth said quietly. Are you sure? There are so many of them. Hyun looked at the alien, then at the destroyed planet below. He thought about the billions of people who had died here. He thought about the 17 civilizations that had been wiped out. He thought about Earth, and what would happen if these machines reached his home. Veloth, your people called us violent primitives. You were right. We are violent. But sometimes the galaxy needs violence. He turned to his weapons officer. Yoon, arm everything. Planet crackers, nuclear torpedoes, kinetic bombardment systems, everything. Yes, sir. But Captain, if we use all our heavy weapons at once, we might not have anything left for the reinforcements. Then we better make sure we don't need anything left. The human fleet moved toward the void swarm like predators approaching prey. Every ship had its weapons ready. Every soldier was prepared to fight. They had come across 50 light years of empty space to fight an enemy they had never seen before. They were about to show the galaxy what Deathworlders could do. The battle for Harmony Prime lasted 18 hours. When it was over, the human fleet had destroyed 43 void machines, but they had also lost 6 ships and 800 soldiers. Captain Lee Hyun stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, looking at the damage reports. The machines are learning too fast, reported Dr. Lim Hee-jin. Every time we used a weapon, they adapted to it within minutes. By the end of the battle, our plasma cannons were useless. But we're still winning, said First Officer Nam Soo-jin. They may adapt fast, but they can't adapt to everything at once. That's not the problem, Hyun said quietly. The problem is that Admiral Kim is coming with reinforcements and he's bringing a new strategy. 3 days later, Admiral Kim Tae-ho arrived with 20 more human warships. His flagship was the Unconquerable, a massive battleship that carried enough firepower to destroy a small planet. With him came someone Hyun had not expected, Dr. An Soo-young, Earth's leading expert on alien psychology. The meeting took place in the Indomitable's main conference room. Around the table sat the human commanders, Dr. Lim and Veloth representing the Gentle Collective. Admiral Kim looked tired. His gray hair had turned white during the journey from Earth. Captain Hyun, your report shows that conventional tactics won't work against these machines. Yes, sir. They adapt too quickly. Whatever we throw at them, they counter within minutes. That's why I brought Dr. An, the Admiral said. She's been studying the Void Swarm's behavior patterns. Dr. An opened her computer and showed images of the recent battle. I've analyzed every engagement you've had with these machines. They're not just adapting, they're thinking like computers. Everything they do follows logical patterns. What does that mean? Asked Colonel Oh Sang-wook. It means they have a weakness. They can only respond to logical tactics. They can't comprehend illogical behavior. Weapons Officer Yoon Jae-sung leaned forward. Are you saying we should fight stupidly? No, Dr. An smiled. I'm saying we should fight like humans. She showed them more data. Every alien species we know about fights in organized, predictable ways. They use the most efficient tactics. They minimize losses. They retreat when the odds are against them. The Void Swarm has adapted to counter all of these logical approaches. But humans are different, Dr. Lim added. We do things that don't make sense. We take risks that other species would never take. Admiral Kim stood up. That's why we're implementing the Deathworlder doctrine. From now on, we fight like the violent primitives the aliens think we are. What exactly does that mean? Hyun asked. Dr. An pulled up a tactical display. It means we do things that appear suicidal. We make decisions that seem illogical. We use tactics that no sane species would attempt. For example, Admiral Kim said, we're going to ram our ships into their machines. Sir? Navigator Bae Sung-ho looked confused. Not all our ships, just the ones loaded with nuclear warheads. We're going to turn our vessels into guided missiles. Room went quiet. Veloth's crystal body turned pale. Admiral, the alien said slowly, you're talking about suicide attacks. Yes, Admiral Kim said simply. And it will work because the machines can't understand why we would do it. They can't adapt to tactics that make no logical sense. Over the next week, the humans prepared for their new kind of warfare. Engineer. Hwang Gi-tae worked with volunteers to modify ships for kamikaze attacks. Each ship would be loaded with nuclear warheads and flown directly into enemy machines. The trick, Hwang explained to his volunteers, is to make the ship look damaged and out of control. The machines will think we're retreating. They won't expect us to accelerate toward them. Meanwhile, combat engineer Shin Ye-jin was developing new weapons. Instead of high-tech energy beams, she built simple kinetic bombardment platforms. They were basically giant slingshots that hurled chunks of asteroids at very high speeds. Why asteroids? Yoon asked when he saw the weapons. Because they're not weapons, Shin replied. They're just rocks. The machines don't know how to defend against rocks flying at 90% of light speed. The most shocking part of the new strategy came from the Marines. Colonel Oh had developed what he called environmental warfare. We're going to fight on worlds that would kill other species, he explained to his soldiers. Poisonous atmospheres, extreme temperatures, crushing gravity, places where only humans can survive. Sergeant Ryu Jun-ho raised his hand. Sir, how does that help us? Because the machines adapt to whatever environment they encounter, but they've never encountered an environment where only one species can function. We're going to drag them into situations where being human is the only advantage that matters. The first test of the Deathworlder doctrine came at the planet Serenity. Falls. The Void Swarm had been mining the world for a week. The planet's surface was covered in toxic clouds that would kill most aliens in minutes, but humans could survive there with basic breathing equipment. Captain Soo-jin led 2,000 Marines in a drop assault directly onto the planet's surface. The Void machines were not prepared for ground combat in a poisonous environment. This is insane, Veloth said as they watched the battle from orbit. Your soldiers are fighting in conditions that would kill my people instantly. That's the point, Admiral Kim replied. The machines built their ground units to fight normal aliens. They didn't expect to face species that evolved in hell. On the planet below, the Marines moved through the toxic atmosphere like it was a mild inconvenience. The Void ground units tried to adapt, but they couldn't function in the poisonous air. Their sensors were designed for normal atmospheres, not chemical soup. Enemy machines are malfunctioning, reported Captain Soo-jin from the surface. They keep trying to reconfigure for standard atmospheric conditions, but this planet doesn't have standard anything. The Marines destroyed the mining operation in 6 hours. When they returned to orbit, they brought something valuable. Intact. Void technology for Earth scientists to study. The second test came 3 days later. Demolitions expert Hwang Gi-tae led the first kamikaze attack against a Void fleet near the planet Hope's End. He piloted a ship loaded with 50 nuclear warheads directly into the enemy formation. This is Hwang. His voice came over the radio. Beginning final approach. Tell my wife I'm sorry I won't be home for dinner. The human ship looked like it was damaged and spinning out of control. The Void machines detected it but calculated that it would miss their formation. They didn't understand that Hwang was aiming for the largest enemy ship. At the last second, Hwang fired his engines at full power and slammed into the Void command vessel. The nuclear explosion destroyed not just his target but 6 other machines caught in the blast. Impossible, Veloth whispered. No rational being would sacrifice themselves for such a small tactical advantage. That's why it worked, Dr. Annie explained. The machines calculated that no intelligent species would trade one ship for 7 enemy ships. They couldn't predict what Huang would do, because it didn't make logical sense. The new tactics spread throughout the human fleet. Fighter aim pilots started ramming enemy ships when they ran out of ammunition. Marines attacked in situations where victory was impossible, but would damage the enemy. Engineers built weapons that were more dangerous to use than not to use. The Void Swarm tried to adapt, but how do you counter insanity? How do you predict what someone will do when they ignore all logical survival instincts? Dr. Lim monitored the enemy communications during the battles. The machines are confused, she reported. They're sending error messages to each other. They can't understand human behavior patterns. Good, Admiral Kim said. Fear and confusion are weapons too. The most devastating attack came when Engineer Shin tested her kinetic bombardment system. She accelerated a small asteroid to incredible speed and fired it at a Void Factory ship. The rock hit with the force of a nuclear bomb, but the machines had no defense against it because it wasn't technically a weapon. How do you counter a rock? Shin asked after the successful test. It's just matter moving through space. No energy signature, no guidance system, no sophisticated technology. Just a big rock going very fast. By the end of the month, the human fleet had destroyed more than 300 Void machines using tactics that made no sense to anyone except humans. The enemy had adapted to energy weapons, kinetic weapons, nuclear weapons, and every other technology in the human arsenal, but they couldn't adapt to humans themselves. We're winning, Captain Hyun said during the weekly strategy meeting. But the real test is coming. Intelligence reports show that the Void Swarm is calling for reinforcements from their main fleet. How? Many ships? Admiral Kim asked. Thousands, maybe tens of thousands, and they're all coming here. When will they arrive? 2 weeks. Admiral Kim looked around the table at his officers. They had proven that humans could fight the Void Swarm, but could they fight an entire invasion fleet? Signal Earth, he said finally. Tell them to send everything we have. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon. If we're going to fight the main enemy fleet, we need more than just one battle group. Sir, Veloth said quietly, perhaps it would be better to retreat. You've done enough. You've saved what's left of my people. Admiral Kim looked at the alien with tired eyes. Veloth, your people called us violent primitives from a death world. The Void Nexus was a nightmare made of metal and mathematics. It hung in space around a black hole, a massive structure the size of Earth's moon. Thousands of factory ships moved around it like insects around a hive. Captain Lee Hyun stared at it through the windows of the Indomitable and felt his stomach drop. That's where they're building their main fleet, said Intelligence Officer Lee Da-hoon. Our scouts count over 50,000 machines in that area, and they're making more every hour. 2 weeks had passed since the human victory at Harmony, Prime. The scattered Void fleets had gathered at their central base, bringing with them technology and weapons that made their previous machines look like toys. The black hole provided unlimited energy for their factories. Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood beside Hyun, looking at the tactical displays. Behind them, the largest human fleet ever assembled waited for orders. Earth had sent everything. Battleships, carriers, marines, scientists, and weapons that had never been tested in combat. How many ships do we have? Hyun asked. 237 warships, Admiral Kim replied. 50,000 soldiers, and one secret weapon. The secret weapon was Dr. Jung Hai-wan, Earth's leading expert on black hole physics. She had spent the journey from Earth studying the Void Nexus and developing a plan that terrified everyone who heard it. We're going to destabilize their artificial black hole, she explained to the assembled commanders. If we can disrupt the gravitational field, the entire structure will collapse. Is that possible? Asked Captain Sujin. Yes, but we need to plant antimatter charges at specific points around the black hole, and someone has to trigger them manually, from inside the Nexus. That's a suicide mission, Colonel O said flatly. Yes, Dr. Young agreed. The person who triggers the charges won't be coming back. The plan was insane, even by human standards. While the main fleet engaged the Void Swarm in a massive space battle, A small team would infiltrate the Nexus using captured enemy technology. They would fight their way to the black hole's control systems and plant the charges. "I'll lead the infiltration team," Captain Hyun said. "No," Admiral Kim replied. "I need you to command the main battle. I'll take the infiltration team myself." "Sir, you can't—" "Captain, that's an order. Besides," Admiral Kim smiled grimly, "I'm too old for another war. This is a good way to end my career." The battle began at dawn, ship's time. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Nexus system and immediately came under attack. The void machines had been waiting for them. "Contacts everywhere," called Officer Kim Dal from his sensors. "I count—" God, there are too many to count. The space around the Nexus filled with weapons fire. Human ships launched nuclear torpedoes while void machines responded with energy beams that could cut through solid metal. Fighter squadrons led by Song Min-ah dove into the enemy formation like angry wasps. "Remember the doctrine," Admiral Kim broadcast to all ships. "Fight like humans, not like computers. Be unpredictable. Be insane." The human fleet scattered into smaller groups, each one attacking from a different direction. They used the Deathworlder tactics they had developed: ramming attacks, environmental warfare, and weapons that made no logical sense. Combat engineer Shin Ye-jin fired her kinetic bombardment systems, hurling asteroids at incredible speeds into the enemy formations. The rocks smashed through void machines that had adapted to defend against energy weapons, but had no protocols for dodging flying mountains. "Direct hit on enemy factory ship," Shin reported with satisfaction. "Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best." Meanwhile, Stealth Commander Kang Do-hyun led his invisible ships through the battle, carrying Admiral Kim's infiltration team toward the Nexus. The captured void technology made their ship look like another enemy machine. "We're through their outer defenses," Do-hyun reported quietly. "Beginning approach to the Nexus." Inside the captured ship, Admiral Kim checked his equipment one last time. With him were 20 volunteers, Marines, engineers, and scientists who knew they probably wouldn't survive the mission. "Remember," he told them, "we only need to reach the black hole controls. Everything else is secondary." The infiltration ship docked with the Nexus without being detected. Admiral Kim's team moved through corridors that twisted and curved in impossible ways. The gravity changed direction randomly, and the walls seemed to be alive. "This place is built around the black hole," explained Dr. Young as they walked. "Space and time are distorted here. That's why the geometry doesn't make sense." They fought their way deeper into the structure, encountering void machines designed for defense, but the machines were confused by human tactics. When blocked by a massive security door, Marine Sergeant Ryu Junho simply used explosives to blow a hole in the wall next to it. Why didn't they just go through the door? One machine transmitted to another. Unknown. Human behavior patterns do not compute. Meanwhile, the space battle raged around the Nexus. The human fleet was outnumbered 100 to 1, but they were winning through sheer stubbornness and creative violence. Fighter pilot Min-ah led her squadron in an attack that no sane person would attempt. She flew directly through the exhaust port of a void factory ship, firing missiles into its internal systems. "This is crazy even for you," her wingman called over the radio. "Crazy is what we do best," Min-ah replied as she pulled out of the enemy ship just before it exploded. On the ground, Colonel O's Marines had landed on several of the smaller factory ships. They fought in zero gravity, in poisonous atmospheres, and in conditions that would kill most aliens. The void machines couldn't adapt fast enough to counter humans fighting in their natural element: chaos. "We're not winning this battle." "Communications," Officer Park Mina reported to Captain Hyun. "We're just refusing to lose it." She was right. The human fleet was taking heavy casualties, but they were also inflicting damage that the machines couldn't repair fast enough. Every human ship that died took multiple enemy vessels with it. Inside the Nexus, Admiral Kim's team had reached the black hole control chamber. It was a vast, spherical room with the artificial black hole floating in the center, surrounded by energy fields and control systems. "There," Dr. Young pointed to several key locations around the sphere. "We need to place charges at those points. The antimatter reaction will disrupt the gravitational field." They split into teams to plant the charges. But as they worked, alarms began sounding throughout the Nexus. The Void Swarm had detected their presence. "They know we're here," Admiral Kim said into his radio. "How long do you need?" "5 more minutes," Dr. Young replied. "You've got them." Admiral Kim and his remaining Marines held the entrance to the chamber, while the scientists finished their work. Wave after wave of void machines poured through the doorways, but the humans held their ground with desperate ferocity. "Charges are set," Dr. Young announced. "But someone needs to stay here to trigger them manually. The gravitational field is interfering with remote detonation." Admiral Kim looked around at his team. They all knew what this meant. "I'll do it," he said quietly. "Sir," began Sergeant Ryu. "That's an order. Get everyone else back to the ship." As his team retreated, Admiral Kim stayed behind in the control chamber. Around him, the battle for the Nexus continued. He could hear explosions and weapons fire echoing through the structure. "Admiral Kim to Captain Hyun," he said into his radio. "I'm here, sir." Hyun's voice crackled back. "Tell Earth that we did our job. Tell them that the Deathworlders saved the galaxy. Sir, there has to be another way. Captain, in 30 seconds I'm going to destabilize this black hole. I recommend you get your fleet out of here." Hyun's voice was tight with emotion. "It's been an honor serving with you, sir." "The honor was mine. Now get out of here." Admiral Kim looked at the detonation controls one last time. Through the chamber's windows, he could see the space battle raging outside. Human ships were still fighting, still refusing to surrender even when victory seemed impossible. That was what made humans special, he realized. They didn't fight because they were sure they would win. They fought because some things were worth fighting for, even against impossible odds. He pressed the detonation button. The antimatter charges exploded simultaneously around the artificial black hole. The gravitational field fluctuated wildly, and the Nexus began to tear itself apart. The factory ships around it were caught in the expanding destruction as space itself twisted and collapsed. "The Nexus is coming apart," reported Officer Kim Dal from the human fleet. "The black hole is destabilizing." "All ships, retreat to minimum safe distance," Captain Hyun ordered. They watched from far away as the void Nexus collapsed into the black hole it had been built around. The massive structure, which had taken centuries to build, was destroyed in minutes. With it died the Void Swarm's ability to build new machines faster than they could be destroyed. "Sir," Communications Officer Mina said quietly, "we're receiving surrender signals from the surviving Void machines." It was over. The hive mind that had destroyed 17 civilizations had been broken. Without their central command structure, the individual machines were just metal and circuits. Captain Hyun looked around the bridge at his crew. They had won, but the cost had been terrible. Half the human fleet was gone. Thousands of soldiers had died. Admiral Kim would never see Earth again.